What if the thing you call your personality is actually a survival strategy? What if overthinking, overworking, people pleasing, perfectionism, independence, inability to rest, or fear of being seen is not who you actually are at your core? What if it's an identity your nervous system built at some point because it believed that was the best way to stay safe, stay connected, or avoid rejection? And what if the version of you that helped you to survive then is now quietly limiting the life you are trying to create? In this video, I'm going to walk you through 10 survival identities that may be running your life without you even realizing it. And more importantly, how you can begin shifting them without shaming the version of you that got you here today. So first, I want to make something very clear. This is not about blaming your parents. It's not about turning every difficult experience into a diagnosis. And it's not about deciding that you're broken because you have patterns. It's about recognizing something much more empowering here. At different points in your life, your system may have learned certain rules about what was required to be safe, loved, accepted, successful, or protected. Maybe you learned, I have to perform to be valued. Maybe you learned, I can't really need anyone. Maybe you learned, if I make a mistake, I'll only be rejected. Maybe you learned my emotions are just too much. Those are not simply thoughts. They become embodied rules, and they shape how you work, love, rest, lead, create, receive support, and make decisions. In psychology, related patterns are often described as core beliefs, attachment wounds, or schemas. Deep themes that can form really early and keep repeating in adulthood unless we become conscious of them. Schema therapy, for example, describes 18 recurring self-defeating patterns organized across 5 major areas of unmet developmental needs. And this is more common than most people even realize. CDC data found that almost 64% of US adults reported at least one adverse childhood experience, while about 17% reported 4 or more. Now, that doesn't mean that every single challenge that we face comes from childhood. It does mean that adaptation to difficult experiences is deeply human and incredibly widespread. So as you listen here today, don't ask yourself, what's wrong with me? Ask, why did my system and what did my system learn that it had to become in order to survive, belong, or stay connected? Now, a survival identity is not your authentic identity. It's an adaptation. It is a role that your nervous system learned to play. And most survival identities have a gift, truly. The achiever can build. The independent one can endure. The caretaker can sense what other people need. And the perfectionist can create exceptional work. The problem is not that these capacities exist. The problem is when you can't turn them off. When you can't rest unless you've earned it. When you can't receive love unless you've performed for it. When you can't ask for help without feeling weak. When you can't be fully yourself without fearing abandonment. That is when a strength becomes a prison. The first survival identity is I am not safe. This can look like overthinking, constant scanning, controlling every variable, difficulty sleeping, difficulty relaxing, always bracing for bad news, or feeling unsettled even when, objectively, life is going pretty well. You may have built a life that is stable, successful, and truly beautiful, but your body still has not received the message that it's allowed to chill out. So you keep preparing, you keep anticipating, you keep managing, and often you call that being responsible. But being prepared and being perpetually braced, not the same thing. The shift here is not forcing yourself to calm down. Your body does not need another command. It needs evidence. Evidence that you are here. Evidence that you have choices. Evidence that you can protect yourself now. Here's a simple practice for you. Look around your room. Go ahead, right now, look around your room and land on 5 neutral or pleasant objects. Feel your feet on the floor. Exhale longer than you inhale. And then say, in this moment, I am here. In this moment, I have options. You're not trying to convince yourself that nothing will ever happen. You're teaching your system that it doesn't have to live in permanent anticipation. The second survival identity is I'm not enough. This one often creates the high achiever. You become impressive, productive, helpful, skilled, resilient, accomplished. You may be the person that everyone relies on, but inside, success has a strange effect. It feels good for a moment, and then the finish line moves again. You hit the revenue goal, you get the recognition, you create the result, you reach for the next level. And your nervous system says, good, now do more because that's how we stay valuable. The issue here is not ambition. Ambition can be beautiful. The question is, can you still feel worthy when you're resting, learning, changing your mind, creating slowly, or not producing? If your self-worth rises and falls with your output, achievement is no longer just an expression of your gifts. It's become your survival requirement. Your question this week is, who am I when I'm not producing? Let that question feel uncomfortable. Don't try to rush to solve it either. It may reveal the exact place where your system needs more permission, more safety, and more truth. The third identity survival is I must earn love. This can look like overgiving, over-explaining, being endlessly available, taking responsibility for everyone else's emotions, and feeling anxious when you're not useful. You may be deeply generous. You may genuinely love caring for people, but you ask yourself, do you know how to receive? Ask yourself that. Can someone support you without you immediately trying to repay them? Can you have a need without earning the right to have it first? When love becomes something you earn through usefulness, you'll often attract relationships where you're valued for what you provide more than who you actually are. The shift here is not to become less generous. It's to stop using generosity as proof that you deserve to be loved. Try this. Make one clean request this week. No over-explaining, no apologizing, no 10 reasons why, it's okay for you to ask. Just, can you help me with this? Or, what I need right now is this. And notice what happens in your body when you let yourself need. The fourth survival identity is, I'm too much. Maybe you learned that your emotions were inconvenient. Your sensitivity was dramatic. Your needs were excessive. Your excitement was embarrassing. Your anger was unacceptable. So you became easy to be around. You minimalized your truth. You softened your asks. You stayed composed. You said, it's fine, even when it's not fine. You learn to make yourself smaller so that you can remain connected. But here's the cost, right? When you consistently abandon your own experience to preserve harmony, you may keep relationships, but you lose yourself inside of them. The practice here is not to suddenly unload everything on everyone. The practice is to tell the truth 1 degree more than usual. Instead of it's fine, say, you know what? Actually, that didn't feel good. Instead of, hey, whatever works for you, say, I would prefer this. Your authentic expression may feel risky at first, but that doesn't mean it's wrong. It may simply mean it's new. The fifth identity is, I am a burden. Now, this is the person who is proudly low maintenance, the person who never asks for much, the person who says, I got it, even when they're overwhelmed, the person who is there for everybody else, but struggles to truly let anyone else show up for them. Self-sufficiency, as we know, can be beautiful, a beautiful capacity, but extreme self-sufficiency is often not freedom. It's a strategy. It's the belief that needing people is dangerous, disappointing, inconvenient, or shameful. The cost is that your relationships can remain functional, but not truly reciprocal. You can be surrounded, a room full of people, and still feel alone because no one has the access to the real weight that you're carrying. So this week, let someone support you in just one small way. Let them make the introduction. Let them bring the meal. Let them listen. Let them help you with your tasks. And resist the urge to immediately prove that you didn't really need it. The sixth survival identity is, I'll be abandoned. Now, this can make uncertainty in relationships feel unbearable. You may overanalyze text messages, over-explain yourself, chase clarity, stay in situations that are inconsistent, try to become more desirable, more understanding, more flexible, more perfect, just to make someone choose you. But the deeper fear is not usually the unanswered message. It's what the unanswered message will appear to confirm. I'm not chosen. I'm not secure. I'm about to be left. If this is familiar, I want to offer you a different question here. Instead of asking yourself, how do I get them to choose me? Ask, is this connection mutual, consistent, and available? That question moves you from pursuit to discernment. You cannot control whether a person has the capacity to show up, but you can decide what kind of access someone gets to your energy when they do not. The seventh identity is, I cannot trust anyone. This is often disguised as strength. I don't need nobody. I'm better off doing it by myself. People will always disappoint you. No one can do it as well as I can. Sometimes that statement comes from real experience. People may have been inconsistent, unsafe, unavailable, or unreliable. But if the protective rule becomes trust no one, then you may protect yourself from disappointment by also protecting yourself from intimacy, collaboration, support, and real connection. The shift here is not blind trust. It's graduated trust. You don't have to hand someone over your whole heart or your biggest responsibility to test whether they're safe. Let trust be built through small, observable moments of consistency. Share 5% more of the truth with someone who has earned that 5% more access. This is not weakness. This is discernment with an open door. The eighth identity is, I'm powerless. This can show up as chronic indecision, procrastination, collapse, fawning, freezing, waiting for permission, or knowing exactly what you want, but feeling unable to move. And this matters. Freeze is not laziness. Sometimes your system learned that action was dangerous. Speaking up was costly. Having needs created conflict. Making the wrong choice just led to shame, punishment, rejection, or disappointment. So now, when you face an important decision, your body may shut down before your mind can truly make sense of it. The solution here is not to shame yourself into action, but find 1 degree of agency. Not the entire business plan, not the perfect conversation, not the full-on transformation. What is one honest action you can take in the next 10 minutes? Send one message, open the document, take a walk, say the first sentence. Cancel the thing that you know needs to be canceled. Agency returns through lived evidence. I can move. I can choose. I can respond. The 10th identity is, I must be perfect. Perfectionism often gets praised because it can create quality. But perfectionism is frequently fear wearing a productive mask. It says, if I can get this exactly right, I cannot be criticized. If I do not make a mistake, I can't be rejected. If I am exceptional, no one can shame me. The problem is that perfectionism does not actually create safety. It creates delay. It creates exhaustion. It creates a life where you keep editing yourself instead of expressing yourself. You do not need to lower your standards. You need to separate excellence from self-punishment. So here's your experiment. Choose one low-risk thing this week and release it at 80%. Publish the post, send the email, make the offer, share the idea. Let your nervous system learn that being visible and imperfect is not the same thing as being unsafe. The 10th survival identity is my real self is unacceptable. Now this here is the shapeshifter, the person who knows how to read a room, become what is needed in that room, perform competence, be impressive, stay likable, and adapt to almost anyone. And again here, that adaptivity may have helped you to navigate a lot. But after years of becoming what other people need, you may reach a place where you ask yourself, what do I actually even want? What do I actually feel? What parts of my life are mine? And what parts were built to receive approval? This is not a sign that you're lost. It may be a sign, though, that you're finally ready to meet yourself beneath all those roles. Start small. Ask yourself, what would I choose if I did not need to get approval of it? Then take one small action that honors that answer. Not a dramatic life overhaul, okay? Just one aligned choice. The authentic self returns through action, not just insight. So, as you listen to these 10 identities, you may have recognized one immediately, or maybe you recognize 5. That doesn't mean you're damaged. It means you're human. And most people are not living from one single identity. We move strategically, right, between strategies depending on the situation. You may become the achiever at work, the caretaker in your relationships, the perfectionist when you are visible, and the avoider when you need support. The goal here is not to eliminate every protective part of you. The goal is to become aware enough that it stops automatically running the show. You could say to yourself, thank you for trying to protect me. I understand why you learned this, but I'm not there anymore. I have more capacity now. I have more choice now. I do not need to abandon myself to stay safe, loved, successful, or connected. Before you go today, I want you to take a moment here, placing one hand on your chest and one hand on your belly, somewhere on your body that feels grounded. Take a slow breath in through your nose and let your exhale be slightly longer. Do that again. Deep inhale into your nose. And a nice slow exhale. Now ask yourself, which identity has been costing me the most energy lately? Don't overthink it. Just let that first answer arrive honestly. And then ask, what is one small action that would give my system a new experience this week? Maybe that's resting without earning it. Maybe it's asking for help. Maybe it's setting a boundary. Maybe it's sharing something before perfect. Maybe it's choosing not to chase someone who's unwilling to meet you. Let the shift be small enough that your body can actually receive it. If this video gave you language to a pattern you've been living with, I created a resource to help you identify where your energy is leaking and what your system needs most right now. It's called the Coherence Map. It'll help you look at your current capacity, your patterns, and the gap between the life you are trying to create and the identity your nervous system may still be protecting. You can go ahead and find it in the description below. And if you want to do this work in a deeper live space with other people committed to building more capacity, connection, and sustainable performance, come join us for Super Sunday. That link is below as well. You do not need to shame yourself of the version that helped you to survive. You can honor that version of you and still choose a life that requires less protection, less performance, and less abandonment. My name is Destiny. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.